G'day and welcome to Partake. We continue our Have series, discussing heroes and villains explored. The person we're going to look at in this study is Athaliah. You can read about her in 2 Kings chapter 11 and 2 Chronicles chapters 22 to 23. The judges have long gone. The nation of Israel had become a monarchy under Saul, David and Solomon. Yet soon after Solomon died, the nation splits into two, north and south, Israel and Judah. And we read about Athaliah, and from 2 Chronicles chapter 22 verses 2 to 3. 42 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly. He did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, as did the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father, to his destruction. And then skipping to 2 Kings 11 verses 1. Now when Athaliah the mother of Ahaziah saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. And then verses 13 to 16. When Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she came to the people into the house of Yahweh. And she looked, and behold, the king stood by the pillar as the tradition was, and the captains and the trumpets by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and blew trumpets. Then Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason! Treason!" Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of hundreds who were set over the army, and said to them, "Bring her out between the ranks. Kill him who follows her with the sword." For the priest said, "Don't let her be slain in the house of Yahweh." So they made way for her, and she went by the way of the horse's entry to the king's house. She was slain there. As we've just read, Athaliah was by all accounts a terrible woman. The tribes in the kingdom of Israel had tried to lure the kingdom of Judah's tribes into a trap and prepared it for the Babylonian exile. Athaliah was to cause Judah's moral life to decay. Athaliah was the daughter of that horrible couple, Ahab and Jezebel, and she somehow inherited all the evil of her wicked parents. Jezebel had brought poison from Sidon and had injected it into the life of Israel. Now Athaliah was to give some of that same poison into the life of Jerusalem. Nothing permits us to think that Judah ever tried to be a good influence upon Israel. But we have good reasons to know that a king of the house of David, so far from choosing to ally himself with God's prophet in the crucial conflict between Ahab and Elijah, chose instead to ally himself with Ahab. He permitted Joram, the crown prince, to marry Jezebel's daughter, Athaliah. Had Jerusalem not already departed from the service of God, the coming of Athaliah and the Baal priest would have caused a holy and violent reaction in Jerusalem. But no such reaction came, and the opposite happened. Athaliah became the ruler of Israel the moment she became queen. Her every gesture and thought was obeyed immediately. And in order to carry out her plans, she exercised her reckless power at will. The temple of Yahweh was virtually closed. Beautiful Baal temples were built everywhere in Jerusalem at her command. Mattan served as the high priest of Baal. Such innovations changed the life of Jerusalem. Worldliness soon prevailed, and the last remnant of the fear of the Lord seemed to leave the walls of Jerusalem. And so intriguing and persistent was this woman's designs that she intentionally sought to give her motives to her son. She hoped that he and his family after him would continue to Baalize Jerusalem. Thus she planned that Baal worship would become firmly established in Israel. Had she succeeded in her plans, Jerusalem could not have hoped to escape that curse. But the Lord called Jehu. He destroyed Ahab's generation in Israel and put Athaliah's son Ahaziah to death. That catastrophe, however, did not stop Athaliah from her evil plans. As the situation was, another of Joram's sons, one not trained by her, would succeed to the throne. This was a circumstance which indeed temporarily paused Athaliah's evil plans. But she soon made short work of that by commanding that all Joram's sons be killed. Had that command been fulfilled, David's generation would have terminated there, right then. Athaliah knew that as a queen she could marry a foreign prince. Thus she would make the worship of Baal an eternal thing for Israel. However, the Lord God Yahweh knows better, and he stopped her progress. By a miracle, the little Joash was rescued from the massacre. Later, the high priest Jehoiada seized the courage to publicly crown him king. When Athaliah on that occasion profaned the temple, he had the captain seize her, drag her out, and kill her. Therefore her plans were destroyed. The Messiah was born from Jesse's generation, from David's family line. David's house was not destroyed. But that doesn't make Athaliah a less evil person. Her evil passion and arrogance induced her to deliberately poison a people with the worship of false gods and idols. She was so wicked that when anything threatened to stop the progress of her wicked plans, she did not hesitate to destroy it, including God's plan in the royal line. Athaliah, not a person to follow in any way. And one of the main lessons we can learn from Athaliah is that her style of leadership is a godless style of leadership. She made all the decisions based on her own wicked judgment and the counsel of those equally wicked. She abused power for the sake of power. Athaliah made decisions based on hatred, idolatry, and vengeance. When you make decisions, what do you base them on? Do you make a decision based on praying to God our Father and asking Him for guidance? Do you read His written word, the Bible, to see what guidance you can glean from there? Is there any form of hatred in your life? And by hatred that includes thinking wrongly and badly of others. Is there any form of idolatry in your life? By idolatry that includes anything or anyone that displaces Jesus Christ from the very center of your life. As for your ambitions, have you submitted them to God and to your Christian friends for counsel and guidance? In all these things, hatred, idolatry, and pride, Athaliah exceeded and paid the ultimate penalty. Not even she, however, could stop God's plan of salvation. Jesus Christ, from the line of King David. This Jesus, for those who follow him, wherever you may work or live, is to be your role model. This Jesus, who existing in the form of God, did not consider equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, being made in the likeness of men. Philippians 2 verse 6. Leadership and life based on servanthood and submission to God and others, modelled on that greatest of all servants, Jesus Christ. Go and do likewise. And you can contact me at dave@partakers.co.uk. Thank you.